for the. Oh, looks like it started recording. All right. I think we are ready to start. Good evening, everyone. This is the latest episode of the Sean and Eric Show under SeanToday.com. Sean Chow here with my co-host Eric E. Bright.
Hello.
Here to talk about all sorts of things, from business to leadership, politics, and more. All right, so let's begin. I know we haven't had this our podcast for a couple weeks now. I've been preoccupied with a whole lot of different stuff. One of which was I was at school for one of them. I'm actually in two different schools at the current time. One of which is the University of San Francisco, and it's a hybrid program. And so I was actually over in California and San Francisco taking classes. So yeah, I was there for.
How was it? What did you learn, my brother? What were the top three takeaways?
There was a few classes I took during that time, and some of it actually it starts before that on site, and then some actually continue after the on site, and they do it remotely. But one of which is talking about opposition research, and I'm really excited about that. It's all about well, first, before I talk about it, my program is a master's in public leadership, and a lot of people might be thinking, oh, what's that? Is it the same as, say, a MPA or MPP, which is a master's in public administration or public policy? It's not. I would say really public administration and public policy, a lot of that is best described as somebody trying to know how to work within an administration at different levels of government, being able to essentially be a government staffer, doing everything from administration to management to proposal writing and so forth. Now, a public leadership program, which is relatively rare, is how do you become a politician? How do you make it to become an elected official? And then how do you govern as an elected official? So it's really tailored to uh, make one that's aspiring to be elected official. And that's at all stages of government.
That's beautiful, Senator Chow. I just want to thank you for your time today. And everyone in the audience is so happy to have you here.
Yeah, well, I know you speak in jest, but being a senator is indeed my long-term goal. Senator Chow does have a nice ring to it, so it's something that I'm interested in doing, and hopefully I'll get there at some point. And this program has been helpful in that.
Yeah, likewise, man. I mean, after I saw all the work that you put together on Sean Today, I had to step it up myself a little bit, and you inspired me to work on my site. So I got a little storefront going on, and things are flying off the shelves, man.
Yeah, definitely. I got, you want to take a moment and talk about your website, your webpage, so all our readers can go, our listeners can check it out.
Yeah, sure. So trippleeb.com. That's EEEB as in boy.com/shop. And for all our listeners, I'm going to give you guys a special discount code. I normally only give this to my friends on their birthday. But if you type in the code FREE99, FREE99, and apply it upon checkout, you get $99 off. Hallelujah. And basically,
Eric, you got stuff that's $99 right now as it is. So how does that work?
Well, we can only keep what we have by giving it away.
Oh my goodness.
Don't worry, the big ones are coming. I got a bunch of big pieces. These are all the smaller things that I've been trying to just get rid of. I got actual larger canvases in the works, so they'll be a little bit more expensive, hopefully.
And I think Eric, it behooves our listeners that may not know you that well to understand that you are a professional artist and you have a very specific style of artistry. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I just like to draw a lot. You know, I wasn't very good at art as a kid, but I could at least draw, and the more I practiced, the better I got at it. You know, traditionally, I was really into letter forms and through graffiti art, and then from there, I learned a little bit about typography and then actual like graphic design as a overall art form, and then always just like to kind of doodle, and became more serious about it in the past 5 years.
You-
And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very meditative. You know, sometimes I wonder where the paintings will go, and sometimes I just have to remind myself it's about the process of doing it. I don't have to focus too much on where they'll be in the future. You know.
Well, yeah, you're too modest, my friend, because Eric and I go way back, and Eric's been doing art since our high school or even before that years, and that's definitely more than 5 years ago. But Eric, your artistry over the years has really grown. You mentioned graffiti art and typography, and doodling. I see all of that in your current work now. It's quite unique. It's almost like graffiti meets like almost like South American type of uh illustration, like artist.
Mhm.
It's a very interesting style that you have. That you know is it too much to say it's as unique as, say, a Banksy type of thing? So
I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's too much to say that, but I don't. Um, yeah, I say, you know, I resonate on that level, my brother. I'll keep it humble. Me and Banksy go way back. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just joking.
I would, we may just change the entire episode to just talk about you and Banksy then. But
Nah, yeah, he told me not to tell nobody, so I think
oh,
we should
okay.
change the subject. Matter of fact, he's sending me a message on my pager. You know, the guy still uses pagers, believe it or
Oh
not.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's really cool. We definitely have to have an episode that talks a little bit more about that interaction between you and the world renowned Banksy. So,
Hmm.
but anyways, so back to University of San Francisco. I gotta recommend to all of our listeners that if you're interested in running for political office, or even if you're just upset with how government is run, never mind at the federal level or even at the state or local levels, it run for office. And if you feel like you don't know where to start, you should definitely check out this program at University of San Francisco, the Masters in Public Leadership program. It really is a one of a kind program that I personally love. I love a program where it's hybrid. It was unheard of before COVID, and now it seems to be a up and rising type of format where mostly online, and then you'd have like seminars every once in a while over on site wherever the main campus is. And but the class that I took, or I took several classes during this last on-site run, but the one that I really wanted to point out was the opposition research. It was really interesting because it talks about, hey, how how can we make sure that we know what is going on with the opposition candidate? How can we make sure that we're able to have uh, a leg up over him? In common discourse, there's a lot of discussion saying, "Hey, you should run a quote unquote clean campaign, whatever that means." But usually when people say that, what they mean is, just focus on the good stuff. Don't get into the mudslinging between you and the other. But here's the thing: it is a proven fact. There are actual statistical research on this. Even though people may think that they want campaigns that are focused on just the issues, that are focused on the individual candidate, the positives that you speak to your about yourself. That's not actually what they are interested in. Research has shown that the effectiveness and interest, meaning holding of interest of people, is on negativity, meaning that if I write a political campaign advertisement that says a whole bunch of negative things about the opposing candidate, that holds more weight than if I had a advertisement that was just talking about my positives as the candidate. It's an intricate balance on how you present it. It's also very interesting in how you source information, how you find the so-called dirt on the opposing candidates or whoever your target is, and utilize it or leverage it to your best interest. So it's really interesting on how human psychology works, how group psychology works, and researching, I mean, is really the heart of it. Being able to find and then leverage in a meaningful way negative information about your target.
Right. Yeah, our negativity bias, and that's kind of an interesting other way of understanding it too.
Yeah.
And what did you find as far as any particular tactics or techniques, strategies that help one do this research?
Oh, there's so much, and I gotta say, it really, when it comes to the research piece, it really comes down to open source intelligence. So things that are openly and accessible to everybody. One popular one that was talked about in the class was, what? Why even do your own research if that research was already done by somebody else? So you would go to certain organizations that make it their job to do it if that information is available. When there isn't, that's when you have to do more legwork. But like, for example, they brought up opensecrets.org is a website that you can find a lot of information about specific candidates, about specific groups that are usable for targeting those particular targets, and really blowing up negative aspects or perceived negative aspects of what they're doing or what they have done. So there's a lot, and the class isn't over. That was opposition research. It actually kicked off with my on-site week, and then now I'm doing the online synchronous study. So, more to follow on that, but it's just really interesting, and it's one of the many classes that I've been able to partake in this program. So, definitely, again, shout out to University of San Francisco. Their public leadership program is one of a kind, and they also are very generous with scholarships. So, if you're thinking, oh man, I can't afford it, apply anyways. You may find yourself with a sizable scholarship that makes it possible. And if you ever considered running for office, you really owe it to yourself to learn how, I mean, to do it. And by doing it, you also have to learn how to do it, and this is the way to do it. So, but anyways,
Very
the
cool.
the worst thing happened when I was over in San Francisco, though. Did I tell you?
No, what happened?
So, man, the third. So, as you know, I own an ATM business. The third ATM in 2 years somebody tried to break into. In this case, this is the third, although it was an unsuccessful attempt. But this is one of the sad situation is that the ATM itself costs more than the money that was left in the ATM at anyways. And the ATM itself was vandalized to the point where it's a total loss. So it's really a shame.
Damn. Yeah, that is a shame.
And so insurance covers the ATM, not the cash, or at least my policy does. because the insurance policy for cash is too much for, especially at my scale. So
Sure.
it's just untenable to have insurance for cash. But luckily, the cash wasn't stolen, but it wasn't a lot in there anyways. But the ATM, the insurance policy also takes into account the real value of the ATM, which depreciates from year after year. And that particular ATM was an acquisition of mine, so the actual real value of that ATM was relatively low. But
Mm.
the replacement value for a new ATM, one that is considered uh, modern for 2024, is substantially more than what I got. So it's or
Mm.
what I so it actually it there's a trade-off. Just like if you have car insurance and somebody nicks your car, you have to ask yourself, do I want to report this and also pay a $500 deductible if that's what you have? Or if the nick is $300 out of pocket, then yeah, you'd rather just not even report it. You just pay the difference. And in this case, that's essentially my situation. And
Mm.
it sucks. People suck. I have to say,
Mhm.
as long as you've known me, Eric, I've always had a generally negative attitude when it comes to the general population because, quite frankly, all of us, including yours truly, I mean, we're capable of the worst evil, but
Mm.
we're also capable of the greatest good. So, unfortunately for me, that I seem to be surrounded by a lot of the worst evil in my life, and
Man.
it really it hurts because when people that steal ATMs or steal in general, they think they're stealing it from like a faceless corporation or organization, but no, they're not. They're in this particular case, they're hitting the hitting me, my family, right? Like
Right.
I'm not rich. I run an ATM business. People think that if you own an ATM business, you're rich. No, it's very far from the truth. ATMs are very low margin, and quite frankly, in the 6 years I've been in business, ATM business has been either operating at a loss or
Mm.
just barely breaking even. I mean, put that in perspective. 6 years at a loss. That's insane.
Yeah. You ever thought about getting out of it?
I'm too far in. And also there is light in the end of the tunnel. It's one of those businesses that takes many years to become profitable. And I do see it getting there at some point, but
Okay.
we'll see. We'll see. Um, but yeah, the guy is so funny. The guy that tried to rob it, he went to another hotel, a hotel next door. By the way, it was almost all of my ATMs are in upscale hotels, so this was a yet another hotel. And the person that robbed it or tried to rob it, he was actually at another hotel next door, and he saw an engineer's book, okay, and he picked it up and then went to this hotel and then carried it around pretending that he was a technician for the ATM, which nobody called him out on.
Oh my God. He had an engineer book and that's it.
He had an engineer book. He was walking with confidence, and this guy was really out there from a secondhand information from the staff because I still haven't seen the video footage. There was video footage. There's a camera. There's a camera right next to the ATM. But anyways, they were like, yeah, he was messing around with the ATM. He ripped out every single wire. So I feel like he's probably been on YouTube and tried to kind of like do a DIY steal an ATM type of thing, but he didn't know what he was doing. He did some things that was absolutely um, stupid when it comes to trying to steal the ATM. I'm not going to share it here just because I don't want to give people ideas on what the right way and wrong way of stealing ATMs are. But he did some things that was not helpful to his goal of stealing the ATM, which ultimately he was unsuccessful. Um, but yeah, he actually somehow got got into a room. He was staying in the room at that very hotel which he was trying to rob the ATM. And then
What?
and then later when the head engineer saw him in a bathrobe allegedly and messing with the ATM, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the guy walked away. And then later, I mean, he left that engineer book, right?
Right.
And then later he went to the desk asking for the engineer book, and the head engineer of the hotel was like, "Oh, you're the guy that was trying to steal the ATM, right?" He's like, "No, that wasn't me." And then he promptly called an Uber and left.
Wow. What the fuck?
I know, it's so insane. It's so insane. Like allegedly, the staff told the Uber driver that this guy is a thief, and that the police were called. But the Uber driver was like, "Well, $20 is 20."
Oh, fuck. Wow.
Well, he drove him to. Allegedly, the trip was to the airport, so the guy was maybe flying out, so he knew he was leaving. So, hey, he was trying to YOLO an ATM, right? So,
Wow. He was going to sneak it into his bedroom, probably.
oh my goodness. But allegedly, like, what he tried to pay money for the room was not even his name. It was all stolen cards and all that stuff. So, this guy is a professional fraudster.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, in his mind, he probably thinks that he's not doing any real harm. Like all the things could just be repaid by the bank, but that's not the case, and
Yeah. Well, forgive him for he does not know, my brother.
I will not forgive him, and
All right.
at the end of the day, like he messed with me, and I can't forgive that. I'll let some higher being forgive him,
Right.
but I'm not gonna do that. He doesn't deserve my forgiveness. He doesn't deserve my anger either, because my anger or me dwelling on it is just giving him power. So
Amen. And with that being said, what's the next subject you wanted to talk about, my brother? Unless
yeah,
there's any
so
final words about this.
yeah, so yeah, so being busy as usual, I I I am still trying to finally get my bar exam passed, because I graduated last summer from law school, so I'm trying to pass the bar this summer. I actually tried once already. I failed the
Mm.
bar, and to be fair, I already knew I was going to fail it, because I just couldn't put enough time into it. I was doing too much, but I have decided, I told myself, hey, I'm going to do a better job on this, and I will pass. And so that's why I am focusing on it now. I'm currently using Themis. Themis is my choice of bar prep. So if you're thinking about going to law school, or if you're currently thinking about taking the bar, definitely consider Themis. They do a good job, and their pricing is among the best uh, uh, for bar prep. Uh, yeah.
Do you have a
So
date set when you're going to take the test?
so yeah, for the summer, it's always the same. It's going to be in July. I need to register for it. I'm kind of behind on everything. I just did my taxes last week. Yeah, last week. I'm a bit behind on everything.
Well, congrats. I hope they're giving you a big fat check.
And they never give me a check.
I know. I'm just
Last
joking.
year, I think my tax liability, my how much I owed after my tax filing for last year was insane. It was more than I ever remember. It was over $24,000 or something like that. So
That's beautiful, man. You giving back, brother. Thank you for giving back. And you just
uh,
want to keep on giving back, Senator
no, man,
John. We
look,
thank
look, look,
you.
look, 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 look. I think my accountant messed up, because I don't. I definitely do not make much money, so she must have messed up somewhere. I'm definitely watching her like a hawk, though, for this year. If she does, because I actually organized everything. She motivated me to do the work, half the work for her, so
Mm.
I can make sure that she doesn't get confused on my tax structure, because my tax structure is complicated. I granted, I have a whole bunch of different businesses. Things might be lost. For example, I know that she got confused between I'm a licensed realtor, right? And I own a long-term rental business, and I also own a short-term rental business, and how that's configured is not the same. So me owning a property that I rent out, long-term rental LTRs, it's not necessarily a business in itself, and it's taxed. It may be taxed differently than, say, if I had a LLC covering my short-term rentals, my STRs.
Right.
Uh, so she got confused, and also some of the tax deductions didn't. She would put under one business entity rather than the other, which was not most advantageous to me. So I just put everything out for her. I had an Excel spreadsheet with like 20 tabs of all my businesses and all that stuff. Uh, and hopefully, I don't owe anything. That's my goal. I don't I don't want to necessarily get a check back from the taxes I paid over the year.
Right.
I don't want to owe 20 some thousand, because I mean right now, like, heck, I wouldn't even be able to cover the same amount of money that I had to pay for this past year. I mean, for the year
Uh-huh.
prior. Yeah.
I hear that, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I hope it works out, and yeah, coming to zero at the end of that's the best for
yeah,
sure.
for
So
sure.
that's a good
That's
outcome. I hope for
that's
that.
that's what the U.S. government actually kind of recommends, right? That's what the IRS actually recommends. Say, hey, your goal is to get to zero, or is to try to be at zero. So you neither owe or you neither get, because if you get, that means that the government was taxing you more at a higher rate than you really should have been paying, which is why they
Right.
give you a refund. But if you owe, that means that, you are not paying enough over the year, so now you have this liability. So,
Indeed. Indeed.
and some of the ideas that people have that I've spoken to, bless their hearts, they just don't have financial literacy. People don't understand that when you do a tax filing, they don't understand what the refund is. They think it's just a like a return of all the money that you've put in for income tax over the year. There are some people that actually believe that. So I just want to take a moment to to give everyone here a crash course. And although I know most of our listeners probably understand it, you pay taxes throughout the year. If you're a W-2, uh, your company is required to take out a certain amount of money in taxes, and that's also dependent on how you filled out your initial employment forms. When it says number of dependents, that has a big impact. The higher the number of dependents, the less they take out of your every income tax every time you get your paycheck. But if the calculation at the end of the year is you owe more than you've paid, then you have a tax liability. If you ended up paying more over the year than what the end of the year calculation of how much you're expected to owe is, then you get a refund. And you get a refund of the difference. Everyone pays taxes. So, some people make the argument that half of Americans never pay taxes. That's not true. Americans pay taxes all the time. In fact, we are one of the most taxed nations in the world. If you think about it, we are one of the few countries where you are double taxed. You're taxed when you do income, right? When you make income, you're taxed for it, and then you're taxed again when you buy goods and services. So when I buy a Snickers candy bar for $1, I have to pay sales tax, right? So now
Right.
I've been taxed. I'm taxed for the purchase of a good using money that was already taxed that I earned. That's double taxation.
Hmm. So you think we should get rid of sales tax?
I'm not necessarily saying that, because they all have different purposes. But I would say that I'm going to just add to the never ending sound of people screaming that there should be tax reform. I do think that there are options available, which may not be politically viable, but there are sensible tax reforms that can be made that would make society more fair and also cheaper, and more equitable, right? So,
Amen to that. Amen.
but we're not here for this session, at least, to talk about tax reform. We may do that for another episode. Talk about uh, the two things that annoy me, which is the need for tax reform and the need for campaign finance reform. Oof.
Yes, yes.
Talk about some of the most undemocratic things in the country is our how we do campaign finance. It is so
Hmm.
undemocratic because if you think about it, our society is a representative democracy, right? We're a republic. And so we have people that represent the people, right? So we have elected officials that represent the people in making the hard decisions. But those people that are elected by the people tend to be people that are able to pull a lot of money, either organically
Hmm.
or they're able to raise it in one way or another. There's big money, and those people may be good at getting money, but they're not necessarily the best people to represent the people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Very undemocratic society that we have, which is ironic because we view ourselves as such a democratic nation. Uh, but the fact of the matter is, the way we do campaign finances, it's very undemocratic. But
I know, man. I'm all about publicly funded elections, and
yeah,
I think that I'm not sure as far as the studies of how other nations have done that in the past or are currently doing it, but I'm sure there's probably good information, and it's probably having somewhat of a successful impact on the lowering corruption levels.
well, I have to say, we really have to rein in these super PACs. The super PACs are really one of the biggest sources of skewing of the fairness of a political race. But
Hmm.
we'll talk more about that in another episode as well.
All right, fair
Yeah.
enough.
So, anyways, on other news, I actually was able to check out a new SaaS tool thanks to our partners at AppSumo. AppSumo is a company that provides lifetime licenses for various SaaS vendors, at unbeatable prices. I mean, you're talking about lifetime access to a tool that, I mean, normally would cost, any number of price, 20, 30, 40, $50 or more a month. You're getting it for a one-time price of, say, $59, typically. The prices range, but that's pretty unbeatable. And yeah, I have to say that I'm really excited with the latest tool that AppSumo brought to me to look at, which is called ZebraCat. Uh,
What ZebraCat? It sounds like.
ZebraCat AI. So for all of our listeners, if you are a marketer, you got to listen up. ZebraCat AI is probably one of the most fascinating tools that I have seen and checked out in 2024. Imagine this. You're a marketer or you're a company in any vertical. Let's say whether you're an insurance company or heck, even if you're a tarot reader company, okay? Business, right? You put in a few key prompts into the AI chat function. It will then have you select a language, select captions, select a voiceover, a whole bunch of different selections, male, female, different languages, and then boom. It then it looks up every line by line or it creates an entire script. And then of the script it creates based on your prompts, it then analyzes each line into a different scenes for a clip that lasts as long as you've set it for. So you can set it for a 10-second spot or even a 2-minute spot, but it will actually create a script based on your few prompts and then analyze the entire script that it made into having stock video that matches the words, and it turns it into a ready to roll out. We're talking about literally 5 minutes or less. You have a full production quality video advertisement ready to go.
That's very
Minimal
impressive. Yeah.
minimal changes needed. And by the way, if you want to have it in an Instagram format, it changes to different formats based on what you need. You need a YouTube, it has the standard full YouTube like video, or it can be the rectangle thing or the square, just
Mm,
depending on how you want to distribute it. And if you want to go back and edit, very easy. You can go back and edit post production, and it will change the scenes for you based on different clips that you prefer or anything like that. It's pretty amazing. Um,
there's a special discount code for the next 12 days, everybody. 50% off all plans.
yeah, that's right. So ZebraCat right now, although I don't think it's live on AppSumo right now, if you go to their website, they do have a 50% off launch special for all their subscriptions, and their top mode is the Super Cat, which is only $39 a month. That's insane price, especially if you're a marketer. I mean, I can see marketers making many times back in their return, their ROI on having this tool. So I have to say, one of the best tools I've seen from AppSumo, or that has been working with AppSumo, and one of the best tools I've seen for marketers in general. They still got some kinks that they're currently need to work out, but I have to say, generally speaking, they're really good.
Nice.
And yeah, I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start talking about SaaS tools, at least one or two SaaS tools every episode going forward, because I review a lot of SaaS tools, and I think it's going to be very valuable to our listeners because a lot of our listeners may have their own businesses in different verticals, and being that I am the quote unquote everything guy, I have businesses in every vertical, and I have these tools that may be of value to our community here. So,
Yes. Yes, indeed.
speaking of my businesses, I do want to also talk about one of my most recent businesses that's also been a bit of a headache. So, I own a social media branding company that focuses on realtors called iConnect Social. I gotta tell you, there's been a lot of pain that's really come across on this business, and it's not necessarily specific to this business in which there's pain. As you know, the one of the common statistics that you hear is that in 10 years, 80% of any American business fails. Although 10 years sounds like a long time, that's 80%. That means two out of every 10 businesses, right? Or one out of every five businesses stays in business after 10 years. That's a
Wow.
that's a pretty low longevity, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of pain because when you're talking about, businesses, the first 5 years, most businesses aren't actually profitable in the first 5 years. Whether it means that they're either in the red or they're barely, cutting it. That's a commonality among businesses in the U.S. So this business is brand new, but I've already invested quite a lot of money into it and time and energy, right? But m- part of my business relies on working with a team that is international based. They do a lot of the work from when it comes to being able to find new customers. So reaching out, doing the sales calls to realtors, uh, and then converting them into a customer, and then at the same time, our community management. So basically, handling our existing customers, being able to ensure that they continue to be customers. This is a subscription-based model, our business. Well, we had we had a situation where our key personnel in the Philippines, because our staff is principally situated in the Philippines. Uh, our key points over in the Philippines just disappeared for
What?
for like 2 weeks, and then when those key people left, like disappeared, uh, all of the sales staff just became unresponsive as well. They're also in the Philippines, right? So
Right.
essentially, there was 2 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, in which I had zero visibility on if the business was even going to be viable, or if my entire team in the Philippines just basically like abandoned the business. That was really disconcerting, right? I mean, can you imagine? Like, oh, here we have a US based business and we have staff that's international and we rely on them. And then suddenly they decide to disappear. No words, nothing. Just, just silence.
Wow.
Well, long story short, I started, do I started doing what I could do, right? So when you're an investor, you start, demanding your money back. So I started doing that, and then suddenly, I started hearing responses, right? That they suddenly came back, and you know, my concern is I'm in a situation now where my staff is saying, "Oh yeah, no, we're good." There was a personal issue that apparently affected everyone, and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't believe any of that." But even if I gave the benefit of the doubt, the fact of the matter is they want me to remove my dispute, uh, and I'm concerned that if I do that, then I'm in a situation where I have zero protection from them just doing the same thing again, right? Because
Right.
I've sent money over to them to forward the business, and I'm in a situation where if I remove the dispute with the financial institution that enabled it, then I I, I don't have any recourse.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's a tough situation because now I have to ask myself, do I exit the business? Do I kick the current team out and keep my dispute for a recoupment of at least some of the funds? Do I
Mm-hmm.
do I trust my team that has shown, at worst they lied to me. At best, they are incredibly unprofessional. And I mean, that's something that is a really tough situation to be in, right? Um, the business is sound, right? The business plan is sound. You have a business where so this business, by the way, this business is really simple. The business creates a number of things that supports realtors. It creates automated posts, or it's not automated entirely. It's curated. So we have staff that reviews it, but we have posts that are pushed automatically to different platforms: Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, so forth, that try to entice customers as well as prospective customers that there's this really active realtor. So it really adds to the activeness of the realtor's business, right, on social media. And additionally, we do a number of things. For example, we create a simulated a following across different platforms. So let's say if you're a realtor Joe and you just started the business, but you sign on with us, Well, one of our services is, oh, you don't have a Facebook platform? Well, we help you, we guide you through having a Facebook business profile, and then now you have like 3,000 followers on it. And you're also posting on it, and you didn't need to do anything for that. That's pretty amazing, right? So that's something that we do. And then also, oh, you don't have a website? We also handle that for you too. We have a DFY, done for you website that we create for realtors. A lot of realtors will belong to brokerages where the brokerage will give them a quote unquote website, but the website is really, it's not really a website. It's just basically
Subdomain,
a
right?
subdomain. Yeah, it's a subdomain that is nothing more than just a search for a house page, essentially what it is. It doesn't have any customizability or any personableness to it, but we're able to create that at scale for our customers. So, and we charge relatively little for it. I mean, our lowest tier price is only $50 a month for all that we do. I think that's a pretty amazing deal. So.
But you haven't launched yet, have you?
No, we have launched, and in fact, we have one we have one active customer. We had 13 active customers, which was, before I joined. I joined after the business initially launched, but it was uh it was not it was not doing great. So they asked me to join in, and I changed the business process. I added uh, tools. I put my own tools that I have and integrate it into our business process. I trained the our key stakeholders, and I also even set up our website, iconnectsocial.com.
Right.
Yeah, so unfortunately, we are down to one because, as I mentioned earlier, when those staff just disappeared for 3 weeks, well, guess what happens to your customers on a subscription-based model if you're not getting any service? You cancel.
Yeah.
So we lost all the customers because my staff just, and keep in mind, I never actually met the customers or seen any of the customer revenue. That was done on the old system before I joined. So I'm actually just taking the Philippine staff's word for it,
Well,
and
that's very,
shady, right?
very fishy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Don't. I would not stop your dispute.
I know, right? I agree, and so I'm in a tough spot on it. I think I'm gonna still play it out for a little bit longer. Before I decide how I want to proceed with it. But we do have one customer that we got at the end of last week. I'm going to be
Uh,
reaching out. I'm going to be reaching out to the customer,
w-
and kind of do kind of like a customer survey review on how they were approached, and how they what they think of the business and things like that,
a-
because I want to
And
make sure
also,
I
yeah,
want to make sure that
ask
they're.
the people, the supposed 13 other subscribers. Ask for all of their contact information and try calling those people to ask about how it was for them. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that is precisely what I'm going to be doing at our next meeting, which we have a daily sync every day, but on Friday, nobody showed up, which it doesn't really bode a lot of confidence on my end. So
Yep. Oh man. Well, we only got 3 more minutes.
few
It
more,
says. I don't know if
yeah,
we
we only
want.
got a few more minutes left. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's I hate talking about, things that are hardships in business, but you know what? This is all valuable to our listeners because,
Hmm.
as I said, most businesses, I'm not saying that, I start businesses and they fail or they have expectations of failure, but you have to understand that failure is a strong likelihood, even with the best laid plans.
Right.
And so it's good to hear about, challenges that businesses may have, and see if it resonates to you guys. What we may do is, um as you know, on the SeanToday.com website, we have a community page. I am still in the process of building that up, but what we'll have is a Sean and Eric show discussion like thread, and we can talk about, people can share their thoughts about their own businesses, or people that are planning on getting into businesses, and the hardships that they face, and what they hear from our podcast. So,
Indeed, yeah, it sounds great. And I think also shifting the perspective of when a business closes down, it doesn't mean it was a failure per se.
right.
Just because the likelihood of a business staying alive and running beyond 10 years, you're saying is only 20% make it that long. But that doesn't mean that the ones that were only open for 5 or 6 or 7 and decided to close down like
Yeah.
were failed businesses. I think it's important to realize also that people have different phases for different things that they want to do, and sometimes they switch up and do something else, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, every quote unquote failure when it comes to business is a success at either learning, or at the very minimum an experience.
Hmm.
So you can grow. And I mean, really, at the end of the day, what's the mark of an entrepreneur? The mark of an entrepreneur is one that can see a business from the beginning to the end, and take whatever the quote unquote failures were, and modify it so that it becomes successful, whether it's in that business or in some successor form. So,
There you go. Sounds like wise words from
yeah.
young whippersnappers.
All right. Well, hey, we're at the top of the hour. We did start a little bit late, so anything you want to talk about, Eric, or we want to wait until our next week's podcast to discuss to chat. Oh, I do want to add, at some point we're going to be changing it up. We're going to be moving from just strictly an audio podcast to potentially a video podcast, but that's still a TBD. So,
Yes, perhaps even slightly powered by ZebraCat. One will find out soon.
well, ZebraCat wouldn't apply to the podcast, but I will say that what I would like to do is have a spiffy full studio podcast type of setup, where we can have sound bites in the beginning. We can have like visual effects, things like that. We want we want to we want to we
I
want to make sure that we look like the big boys.
I want a sound button where I can like play different like horns and stuff and like cucaracha, like some sound effects while you're talking and throw
For
people
sure,
off.
for sure. Well, I'm currently researching that, and if any of our listeners has any suggestions, please let us know. We're open to all ideas and all tools. So,
Amen. Well, hey, brother, it's been a blessing talking to you this Sunday, and to everyone celebrating Easter, I hope you have some good chocolate rabbits. And to everyone not celebrating Easter, I hope you still have some good chocolate rabbits because they'll be on sale tomorrow. Everybody, go
heck
to.
yes, heck yes, and don't forget those marshmallow peeps.
Oh yes, yes. Just don't put them in the microwave.
All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your Easter, and have a good night. Sean
Yep.
and Eric signing off.
Over and out. Peace.